So guys, we have a major announcement from Burkina Faso that is specifically from one and the only President Ibrahim Traore. And he says,
we have been warning for over a year. The local lackeys, the salon slaves, not to betray their homeland for the benefit of imperialism. Some understood and aligned themselves. Others did not understand, perhaps thinking themselves cleverer. But today, we no longer have feelings on this matter. Anyone who betrays their homeland for the benefit of imperialism will be treated as such. Returning to our famous ECOWAS. Since we decided to leave ECOWAS, the salon slaves have been activated everywhere. They want to scare the people. They want to scare everyone. Thank God. In the recent past, there were only a handful of people who had the right to speak. On TV sets, what they said was considered gospel. Today, with new technologies, which of course have advantages and disadvantages, everyone has the right to speak. And I think that the are the first to confirm this. Everyone can see their analysis on a situation. We can certainly make mistakes, but when someone comes to us to understand, we are very open to explaining the steps to you.
right now, African Union is working hand in hand together with the European Union. The reason why they are doing this is to ensure they bring down President Ibrahim Traore. Remember, this is Making Africa Great. My name is Isaac Obomba, and if you haven't subscribed, please do that as we proceed. So, President Traore has made it clear, he has announced it, and it is one of the reason, and it's the reason why he decided to leave ECOWAS. So I will explain in this video clearly for you to understand what is basically taking place.
Here we will explain why we left this ECOWAS and where we are heading. Remember that it was created in 1975, and it was created for the majority of coup leaders, as they like to say. They were military leaders who took power and took responsibility to create ECOWAS so that there would be real economic growth for the people within this region. Later, the so-called Democrats invited themselves to the leadership of our states. They completely emptied the community of its foundation. When on July 26th, Niger decided to take its destiny into its own hands, we were surprised to see ECOWAS appear out of nowhere with a PAM standby force. Where was this force when thousands and thousands of Nigerians were being killed by terrorists? Where was this force when thousands of Malians and Burkina were dying under the bullets of terrorists? They said that by force they would dislodge the brave sons of Niger who have taken the country's destiny into their own hands. Do you think there are weaklings in Niger? There are fighters over there. The Nigerian army is warrior-like. They have been fighting for years. It is not a parade army or a peacekeeping army. And the AES armies have decided to unite. We are waiting for this standby force.
So I'll start by breaking it down for you to understand first what is African Union. So yes, African Union, this is a collaboration of countries that belongs to Africa. And it's a partnership that brings African countries together for one reason being growth in terms of economic planning, climate change, those kind of things that bring African countries together because we are all on the same soil, we are all on the same land. So of course this one thing that is one thing that makes us to be one. But now uh, African Union being the major organization that brings African countries together. Number one, the purpose that or rather the reason or the major reason why they have been formed. It has or rather it has been formed. Number one is to protect African nations, something that is ironically when it comes to protection for a country like Burkina Faso at the moment, it is raising a lot of question how they can be working together with the European Union to bring down one of their son. That is question number one that all African, or rather most of African nation, they're asking themselves. And number two, they usually bring protection, especially when there is an attacker, or rather, yeah, like that. That is their duty to bring protection when a country, an African country, has been attacked. And number two, when there is a crisis, there's I'll give an example of crisis like a climatic crisis, and perhaps maybe there's a geological crisis where there's an earthquake that has claimed lives. Like the other day in Congo, there was this active volcano, and most of the African there, they were displaced. So that's where African Union comes in, because at the end of the day, each country that is part of African Union, there's some money which they usually contribute, and that is where I am now. So we are the Africans. We need to be contributing the biggest share of this contribution. But now, if you look into this, African Union is being, or rather, the European Union is the one that funds 60% when it comes to this contribution. So the African countries, they're only doing it at 40%. So this is one way. This is the reason why we have stayed under captivity, because the European Union, they are the one contributing 60%. So anything they want from us, it means we have to obey and do that. But if we don't, if they threaten to withdraw, that means there will be a very big loophole, and that is the reason why we are being used in one way or the other. I hope you are understanding where I'm coming from and where I'm heading to. So let's watch this video from President Ibrahim Traore even as we proceed.
There are instructions from the other side. They come, they do everything to apply it. It's shameful. Some have decided not to supply electricity to our countries. It's not free, we pay for it. And it contributes to their economy.
African Union, those as I have highlighted already, two major is to protect the African states, especially when there is an attack. When it comes to trade and economic issues, that's when they also chip in and try to bring solution to these problem. So now the European nation is the one contributing 60% of the revenue that controls the normal, the day-to-day businesses that are happening in the African Union. Don't you think this is one way of being under captivity? This is the only, this is one way of being under arrest. You can't move your leg because the most the most people who are funding this thing, the bosses who are funding the thing is the European nation, or rather the states. Yeah. So President Ibrahim Traore in this case, or rather that is the reason why he decided to leave ECOWAS, because you cannot be contributing less amount and you're depending for more funds from the West, and you are in that capacity, you're trying to give yourself hope that you are growing. There is nothing that like developing in that case. You have been arrested in other words, because most of the thing before you do in your state, you have to contact the European Union. So that means you are not you are not like you are not partner you have not like you are not partnering. There's no partnership there, but instead you have submitted. So what the African Union is doing, they are submitting to the European nation, and that is the kind of the thing that President Ibrahim does not want. He wants African nation to be independent. He wants African nations to grow. He wants African nations to stabilize. We have to stand up. We have to stand up and defend and fight for our rights. It's high time for African to grow up. It's high time for African to be independent. Just as I had told you the reasons why Ibrahim Traore decided to leave ECOWAS is number one, African Union is not operating as how it's supposed to operate, but instead they are submissive to the European Union. And number two, there is a lot of imperialism in this case, something that President Ibrahim is trying with all his effort, with all his strength to fight against that. And he wants Africans to get the same ratio as to what the white are getting. Yeah, when it comes to resource distribution and accountability of how the resources have been used, it comes out clear, rather than you are brainwashed, you're given some peanuts at the end of the day, and you are contented with that. That is what he does not want, and it is the reason why the Western have sold a lot of fear to the African states, because you cannot control even your own state. You cannot control even your own country. You must report to them, because that you want to do this, that you want to do that, that you want to move this, but that you want to move that. That is the reason why he decided to leave. He proceeds to say, or rather he gives an example of like a country like Nigeria. Most of them, the people have been suffering there in terms of resources. The hospitals are poor, people have been dying, there have been attacks, people are dying there, but African Union is still there and there's nothing they're doing. So he was asking himself, why should he continue to be part of that union if he's giving an example of such a country is in the union but still they are suffering. Yeah, if you're in the union and you're still suffering, there's no reason for you to be there. There's no purpose for you to continue being part of that thing. Yes, and for a fact, There's no reason why you should be in a place where you are suffering, but you continue to volunteer, or rather to persevere. You continue to persevere until when? When are you going to grow up? When are you going to style up? Yeah, yeah. Most of the countries, when they talk, the African, the Western, they would, they would switch off the electricity. And this electricity is not being given to them for free. They are paying for that resource. Yeah, they are paying. But at the end of the day, you have made to submit, you have made to fear, you have made to be just something else. you know and this is what President Ibrahim Traore is trying to protect his nation against that. And it is good also to African states, as we have all seen. Some of African states or other countries have started to open their eyes. Apart from a few of them that are still depending on the donations left, right, and center. You everything you want to do. That there's no free money at the end of the day. When someone decided they're coming to you and they're like, oh, we have seen your whatever you have done and you are interested. Oh, we want to give you these billions. There's nothing like free donation in this world. There's nothing. At the end of the day, you have to pay. At the end of the day, there are consequences. You will pay for it, and if you don't pay for it, you will be in for consequences. Yeah. So, African nations, it's high time for us to stand up against that. Thank you, President Samia from Tanzania. The other day, he said, or rather, she said, all the businesses in her country should be conducted using the local currencies. That's a good thing. It's your country. It's upon you to make decision. It's upon you to decide on what should be done. It is you to decide on how matters should be run. That is a bold move, and by doing so, next time you move to something else like that, as you grow, yeah, at least you are showing there's a growth. There is growth. Also, Botswana have also decided that they are backing President Ibrahim Traore, and most countries, or rather the black people, are around the world. That is a good show. It's time for us to wake up. Time are gone for you to be brainwashed the same way we were done during the Gaddafi era. We all knew that or rather, Gaddafi was the worst person. He was the worst enemy for African nations. But after his death, that's when the truth came out.
President Traore, I am from Jamaica, and I am praying for you. Come in the 30th. I don't know if they're going to march in Jamaica, but if they go march, I'm going to march. But if they're not going to march, I'm going to spend the whole day on my knees, praying, begging God to cover you, begging Yahshua, the Holy Spirit, to cover you from the plan of these enemies. When I was small, I remember Gaddafi, but I never felt it that much. Because at the end of the day, he was living in luxury. But you're not living in luxury. You are for the people. You are for the people. And I'm going to go on my knees. And I'm going to pray you up, young man, in covering. Stay covered in Jesus' name.
Let the truth be out there. Let the truth be known to everybody in the world. Because it's only the truth that will set us free. There is this video. As I finish up, watch it and let me get your reactions. Let me get to know your comments on what you think about this entire matter. My name is Isaac Kwabomba, and this is Making Africa Great.
We have been warning for over a year. The local lackeys, the salon slaves, not to betray their homeland for the benefit of imperialism. Some understood and aligned themselves. Others did not understand perhaps thinking themselves cleverer. But today, we no longer have feelings on this matter. Anyone who betrays their homeland for the benefit of imperialism will be treated as such. Returning to our famous ECOWAS. Since we decided to leave ECOWAS, the salon slaves have been activated everywhere. They want to scare the people. They want to scare everyone. Thank God. In the recent past, there were only a handful of people who had the right to speak. On TV sets, what they said was considered gospel. Today, with new technologies, which of course have advantages and disadvantages, everyone has the right to speak. And I think that the are the first to confirm this. Everyone can see their analysis on a situation. We can certainly make mistakes, but when someone comes to us to understand, we are very open to explaining the steps to you. Here we will explain why we left this ECOWAS and where we are heading. Remember that it was created in 1975, and it was created for the majority of coup leaders, as they like to say. They were military leaders who took power and took responsibility to create ECOWAS so that there would be real economic growth for the people within this region. Later, the so-called Democrats invited themselves to the leadership of our states. They completely emptied the community of its foundation. When on July 26, Niger decided to take its destiny into its own hands, we were surprised to see ECOWAS appear out of nowhere with a PAM standby force. Where was this force when thousands and thousands of Nigerians were being killed by terrorists? Where was this force when thousands of Malians and Burkina were dying under the bullets of terrorists? They said that by force they would dislodge the brave sons of Niger who have taken the country's destiny into their own hands. Do you think there are weaklings in Niger? There are fighters over there. The Nigerian army is warrior-like. They have been fighting for years. It is not a parade army or a peacekeeping army. And the AES armies have decided to unite. We are waiting for this standby force.
Do not forget to subscribe, comment, and even share for more of this kind of stories, or rather updates from Africa. Bye bye.